Let's go ahead and bring in the other trig function. So derivative of sine is cosine, derivative of cosine is negative sine. We already know that. Derivative of tangent, though, is secant squared. And derivative of cotangent, notice, is negative cosecant squared. Very similar. Derivative of cosecant is negative cosecant cotangent. Derivative of secant is secant tangent. Later on, I got to quiz you guys on this, or AP Calc, I got to quiz you guys on this. If we come back to class regular, definitely going to get a quiz on this. Pre-calc, you could use the list. That's fine. So for the first one, derivative tangent, so f prime of x, well, derivative tangent is just secant squared, right? And so for AP, you need to know the unit circle. And pre-calc, I'll show you what to do in a second. So secant squared is 1 over cosine, right? So we go to our unit circle, pi over 6 is right here. And we want the cosine value, so that's square root of 3 over 2. So basically, secant is flipping that. It's flipping it because it's 1 over cosine. So I'm going to have 2 over the square root of 3, but it's going to be squared, right? Because secant squared. And so this is going to equal 4 over 3, because square root of 3 squared is just 3. 2 squared is 4, so 4 over 3 is the answer. Pre-calc, what are you going to do? Secant squared, here's what you're going to do. Bring in Desmos. Make sure you are in radians, which we are. And then functions, let's see if secant's an option. There it is. So secant of pi divided by 6. But we want to go ahead and square that. And put parentheses around the whole thing. Squared is 1.3333. Now we know that's not 1/4, but you could just type in the fraction until you get one to match it. 4 divided by 3 is also 1.333. So you know it's going to be that. That would be the same thing. So that's how I would recommend you do it. Cotangent, very similar. Secant, so the derivative of secant is secant tangent. So for AP, you're going to draw your unit circle. And 11 pi over 6 is going to be all the way right here. And so secant is going to be the x value, which is square root of 3 over 2. Tangent, though, is going to be sine over cosine. So we got quite a bit going on here. So this is going to equal the flipped version of cosine, so 2 over the square root of 3. That would be secant. And then tangent would be sine over cosine. All right. So let's go ahead and simplify this. So we have this is 2 over the square root of 3. And you could rationalize this if you want to. But notice how in AP, they don't rationalize the denominator. They usually keep it with the square root. So we're just going to leave it like that. And then we'll have negative 1/2 and then times 2 over the square root of 3. I'm just flipping this bottom fraction and multiplying. What's cool about this, 2 times 1 times 2 is going to be 4. And then square root of 3 times 2 times square root of 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is square root of 9, which is 3, right? It just cancels the square root. So we have 3 times 2, which is 6. Don't forget the negative there, which is negative 2/3. What do you do if you're in pre-calc? Bring in Desmos. You have secant of 11 pi over 6. Tangent 11 pi over 6. And that's negative 0.666. So you know you're just going to put one of these two negative ones in there. If you put negative 1 divided by the square root of 3, it's not that negative 0.667. But if you put negative 2/3, you'll see you get that value. So that also will work for pre-calc. And AP, if you want to double check it, go ahead. But you do need to know that unit circle.